Okay, welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Dickenns, and I am an orthopedic surgeon right here in Kenya. I once made a video about how much doctors earn in Kenya. It was actually how to be a doctor in Kenya and how much doctors earn. And it's one of the most viewed videos. In fact, even after I migrated all my medical videos from the other channel, there I have another channel, to this channel, still it hits more than 1,000 views in just a few weeks. So yeah, I think guys are really interested in the amount of money. But now the problem is, in that video I actually didn't go much into the details in as far as figures are concerned, because really I was intending to give a broad guideline, like an overview of actually what kind of money doctors make. And again, that is necessary because of how much disparity there is in terms of pay from one region to another, from one hospital to another, from the public to the private sector, and other dynamics put together. But still, even in the same video, I keep getting asked, really, how much money exactly do you make? So guys, I'm really not yet convinced that I actually answered that question. So what do I do? Do I just now post my payslip, or what do I do? Anyway, here goes a dedicated video to try and address that question once and for all. But again, let me start by issuing a disclaimer that you see it's also not possible to say how much surgeons make. Even if I were to narrow down to just orthopedic surgeons or just orthopedic surgeons employed by the government, it's still difficult to state how much orthopedic surgeons make because of all the dynamics that I already talked about earlier on. But I hope that this video will shed to you guys quite a bit more light than the previous video that I made. So now, how much do surgeons in Kenya make? I'll break this down into three parts. First, there's the salary for those who are actually employed. Then there's normally the surgical fees. Then there's other fees or payments. So for the first category, the salary, like for every other job, this will depend on who employs you and your terms of employment. And by the way, you guys think that once one becomes a surgeon in Kenya, like after clearing their masters in medicine, in surgery, or doing their College of Surgeons of Eastern, Central, and Southern Africa exams, your salary suddenly triples or something? Actually, chances are it doesn't even change. In fact, a lot of us who are kind of young surgeons still earn the same amount of money that we were earning even before we became surgeons. So the salary, as I mentioned, will depend on who employs you. It's normally different when you compare the government versus the private sector, even versus parastatals like Kenyatta National Hospital and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, versus counties, which are actually employers of surgeons. So as an example, in a typical county, a new like entry-level young surgeon will normally start at around job group Q-ish. Q-ish because some counties will even have them at job group P. And by the way, those letters P, Q, and so on are set up by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. And there's even a newer classification that, is even more confusing. Anyway, if you're in job group Q, for the sake of numbers, usually your net salary will be somewhere just above 200,000 Kenyan shillings. Probably to, 30, 50, somewhere right over there. But again, as I mentioned, not all entry-level surgeons in job group Q. Some are much lower. In fact, some could even be in N still, depending on the county and whether it's wishing to promote them or not. And some could even be higher than that. So that's where the disparities come from. Now, those employed in the private sector usually will earn much more depending on what their negotiated salary was. So you get the gist of what I mean by the difference in salary scales. It could range anywhere from even 150,000 to up to 500,000 net monthly salary in Kenyan shillings. And by the way, majority of the entry-level surgeons are actually towards the lower end of that scale, not towards the higher end. So that is the salary. Now, these next two categories of pay, as you may call them, are actually more or less private income, They are dependent on individual surgeons. I've just decided to mention them because nearly all surgeons do some amount of private work. And normally in private practice, you'd be paid for consultancy services and for surgical services. So most surgeons earn some surgical fee in a private capacity, like when they operate in a private hospital. And they also do earn some other fee, like consultation fees for, reviewing patients in their private clinics or in private hospitals and what have you. So for surgical fees, this depends on the procedure. Like for orthopedic surgeons, it's a smaller procedure, like a quick procedure that will take you like 30 minutes or that doesn't involve a lot of technicalities will probably be cheaper, in as far as surgical fees is concerned than a more technical or longer procedure like a total hip replacement, for example. Now, the medical board actually gives some guidelines of how much surgeons are supposed to charge as surgical fees. And there's a document that I'll link to down below. You might want to go over it to just get a glimpse of what kind of money we're talking about over here. But one thing that you actually need to understand is the fact that many surgeons, right from the younger surgeons to even much more experienced surgeons, charge way less than what is recommended by the board for various reasons, like, the ability to pay. You may have patients that will not be able to pay if you charge what you're actually supposed to charge, or insurance companies, including NHIF, that actually always want to pay way less than what the procedure should really cost. So that said, for most procedures, I'd say that surgeons will charge somewhere between 30,000 to about 120,000 thereabout out here generally. I'm not talking about the outliers, the likes of the massive, big private hospitals in the hearts of Nairobi and so on. I'm just talking about the general surgeons all over the country. So in as far as surgical fees are concerned, the amount a surgeon would earn will depend on how many private procedures they have done in a month. And this other third category of fee that I'd like to call others. And this includes things like consultation fees in their private clinics and in private hospitals, for which surgeons would charge anything, really, all the way down to 1,000 shillings to even 10,000 shillings and more. So it's difficult to say how much exactly a surgeon would earn, but as a rough estimate, I would say that in Kenya, an entry-level surgeon would make anywhere from 100,000 shillings to even $1 million bob in a month. So that is it. I hope this finally sheds some light, especially to those high school students who are trying to think about becoming doctors and surgeons, and undergraduate students thinking about going into surgery, because I believe that is the bigger population of the guys asking me these questions. Thank you for watching. As always, share this to those who may benefit. Like the video if you find it likeable, and comment down below if you still have any more questions. See you in the next one. Bye.